Welcome back to another Recreate This Look. This week we are doing Fran Drescher as Fran Fine from the TV sitcom The Nanny, which ran from 1993 to 1999. Yeah, that long ago. And I'm happy with it, so let's get right into it. Went ahead and did my skin prep and my foundation and my concealer and powder and all that good stuff. I did all that off camera because it's usually the same in every video. The first season of The Nanny premiered in 1993 on CBS, and something that I found interesting in my research, Fran Drescher and her husband at the time, they were also business partners, pitched an idea for a show centered around Fran on an airplane to the head of CBS at the time. Just knew they wanted to do a show. And so the head of CBS at the time was like, yeah, sure, like when we're all in LA, let's meet up. And they were like, okay, but they had to come up with an actual pitch. So they had a very limited amount of time to come up with a real idea. They start talking to friends about it, and they finally land on this sort of kind of take on Sound of Music, where she shows up at this doorstep and becomes the nanny. Really loved the show. When it first came out, I was in like 6th or 7th grade and loved the show from the beginning. Thought it was the funniest thing ever. For the eyes, I'm gonna use both of these Violet Voss Essentials palettes. This is just Essentials, this is Essentials 2. I'm gonna use both of these for the eye look. Now, in television, sometimes you'll notice that the makeup is not extreme, especially in the 90s. I'm gonna take the lightest like pearl shade I can find and just go all over. She was actually in a quick little scene in the movie Saturday Night Fever in one of the club scenes, and she asks John Travolta a very provocative question in the movie. So that's her. And if you know the scene, go ahead and put it in the comments because it is kind of funny. And she looks gorgeous in the movie. She's literally in it for like 15 seconds, but she looks amazing in it. This is just a beige, kind of like a taupe beige, and I'm just gonna put that into my crease. Now, what I've noticed about the makeup in The Nanny is that although it is simple, it's efficient, thought out, and very intentional. I'm just gonna bring that down to the outer corner. I'm gonna use a slightly darker beige and pop that into the very outer corner. Then I'm just blending it into the crease just to give me some definition. I'm gonna blend that out so it's not so harsh. There's a little bit of a eyeliner moment, not too much. So I'm gonna use the pencil side of the Huda Beauty dual liner. She definitely had a specific style, the hair, the makeup, the clothes, and everything about those costumes, everything about those looks, including hair and makeup, made that show super special. The show actually did win an Emmy for costuming in 1995. Fran Drescher was nominated for Golden Globes in both 1996 and 1997, but she did not win. For blush, I'm gonna use the Nesting Bitch Face palette from Pretty Vulgar, like always. The It Cosmetics Lash Blowout Mascara. I actually remember going to school, like watching the show the night before and then going to school the next day and talking about the show with my friends and being like, oh, did you watch The Nanny last night? And like, wow, we really like talked about the show at school the next day. Like that's how dedicated we were to like loving this show. It was one of many shows that we would talk about, and yeah, it was great. This is a mini matte lip crayon from Trestique. This is Chile Red. It's a fun little story. I actually met Fran Drescher very like super briefly when I went to a charity event. Fran Drescher is actually a uterine cancer survivor. She launched the Cancer Schmancer movement, and it's still in existence today. She gives a lot of information on how to remove harmful, toxic products from your home, how to read labels, how to choose household products. She's involved with a lot of different organizations, including Paul Mitchell, and that's why I met her at a Paul Mitchell event. And I just remember her being so nice and so friendly and just very, very sweet. And I probably told her I loved her like 14 times in a row, and she didn't call security on me, so I appreciate that. The lashes I'm gonna use are from Kiss, and they are called Muse, M-U-S-E. I highly recommend you read her autobiography, which I will link in the description of wherever you're watching this. And she went through a lot. There's some really, really heavy things that she went through, even after being famous, including the cancer, but not limited to just that. And, you know, she actually came through it a pretty positive person. For everything that she's gone through, she has remained a very positive person, and that is huge to me. I think that is such an inspiration. Like that she has turned a lot of her fame and a lot of her success into helping other people. She has been a very outspoken healthcare advocate for women, and she actually helped get Johanna's Law passed. Johanna's Law is also known as the Gynecologic Cancer Education and Awareness Act. It promotes the education and awareness of these gynecologic cancers. By the time most of these cancers are detected, they're much, much further along than other types of cancers. Fran Drescher is in the congressional record for helping get this law passed. So let's go back to talking about the actual show for a second. When you watch The Nanny now, yes, it's a little dated, as all shows from the 90s are. Yes, it's a little, I don't want to say cheesy, but cheesy's not even I don't say that in a bad way. Most sitcoms are cheesy, but I watched a couple episodes and they were still funny. So I think the show still, after all these years, still, I mean, 1999 was 22 years ago. They stand the test of time for me. When you're watching the show, if you do go back and watch it, you'll see that they had so many celebrity guest stars. Patti LaBelle, Bette Midler, Bob Barker, Eric Estrada, Alex Trebek, Jason Alexander, or George Costanza from Seinfeld. Jay Leno was on, Celine Dion was on, Elizabeth Taylor. The show was a huge hit. It was a huge hit. It wasn't as celebrated and, you know, sophisticated as some other sitcoms at the time, but it got a good amount of people watching, and a lot of celebrities would go on for like a little cameo now and then. So I do want to shout out the costume designers, Brenda Cooper, Sean Holly Cookson, Terry Gordon, Judy Mann. And I also want to shout out hair and makeup, Kenneth Paul Schoenfeld, Faye Woods, Rena Andrioli, Doug Kirkpatrick, Daryl McIntyre, Roxanne Baker-Sarver, Gloria Blackman, Wendy Hogan, Bradley Wexler, Tim Burke, Julie C. Steffs, Sylvia Serdou, Lisa Farron, Pixie Schwartz, Claire M. Corsick, and Melanie Levitt. You guys made this show even more special than what it already was. So shout out to all of you guys. A lot of us don't even know who is behind the scenes doing hair and makeup and costuming, but as somebody who did that on a very small scale, just here locally, yeah, it's a tough job, and it's awesome and it's wonderful, but I can only imagine an actual sitcom every single week. Like, that has to be the best job in the whole world, and I give it up to everybody who's ever done it. Is right at my sideburn area. I'm just scooping up my hair into a as tight as I can get it, half ponytail. Tease this, so I need a little bit of lift in the back. So what I'm trying to do, if you've ever seen in the 60s how some of the women would wear what we call a fall, so basically it would be a hair piece connected to like a comb or a barrette, and you would have your hair pulled back and stick that fall right at your scalp. So it would look like you have this seamless, just bouffant of hair coming out where you could not see a barrette, you couldn't see rubber band, you couldn't see a comb, you couldn't see anything. Because I don't have a fall, I don't have one of those hair pieces, I'm trying to create that illusion. What she has in the picture is a headband that I don't have. So I'm gonna mess with this just for a little bit longer, and then I'm gonna let it be what it is because I don't have much time. I need the sunlight outside. So we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there, I promise. Fran Drescher has a very pronounced widow's peak. I am gonna draw mine on. I really hope this goes well. Oh my God. I'm one of the Klingons. That's what I look like a Klingon, right? All right, I'm gonna fix this hair a little bit more. I'm gonna put on the outfit and I will be right back. Well, that was a little bit more difficult than I anticipated, but the hair, she's up. We're in business. She's a little lopsided, but you know, considering what I had to, you know, it was quite a mission, but she's up. She's up, she's stable, she ain't moving. And my widow's peak is on peak, okay? But I am really happy with this look. I know. I can't believe how much I like the way this came out. I think I look very 90s. I look very Fran Drescher. I look very Nanny fine. I look very much, oh, Mr. Sheffield. There's one scene in an episode where they go to a sushi bar, and Fran Fine, the nanny, she thinks it's guacamole, but she takes a whole like scoop of wasabi and puts it in her mouth, and then she like obviously does like the big comedic like oh my God face and falls over, and then she gets back up and she says, wow, that really clears up the nasal passages. I wonder how long it's gonna last. So I think the look is complete. I'm so happy with it. I'm having a great time. One thing I really wanted to mention in this video is that if you're gonna look at pop culture and if you're gonna look at the impact of The Nanny as a show, you have to put it next to the shows that came before it. So we're talking about I Love Lucy. We're talking about Mary Tyler Moore. We're talking about Rhoda. You're looking at all of these female-driven sitcoms, and The Nanny is right up there with all of those. I am so happy I did this look. I'm so in love with the way that this looks. I'm so happy. I feel like I did her somewhat justice. I can't stop staring at my widow's peak. Fran Drescher, I just want to say thank you for making this show happen, putting your stamp on it, putting your personality into it. Thank you for putting your style, your fashion sense. I think Fran Drescher was a visionary that was underrated and underappreciated in the 90s, but hopefully people understand now what she actually brought to the table. I think it's really cool. And I mean, these young girls are taking a page out of her fashion book, which I am not mad at all. And I absolutely love it. And I think it's super cute and it's super fun. I think this one was a big win. I'm excited to take pictures, which will be up momentarily. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next week for another Recreate This Look.